And I want to be among the first to officially welcome you to Chico State. Well, here you go. That's my name. And before we actually get started, I also want to express on behalf of the Office of Graduate Studies, and you can see all of the staff of Graduate Studies names here. We're all really thrilled about this new cohort, and it's, you know, this event is always fun for us to see all the new faces, and really again to hopefully extend a warm welcome so that you feel like as quickly as possible you're part of the Chico State family. And the reason that I'm showing you all these names here, even though I won't introduce everyone today, is that Chico State is unique among the CSUs. We're one of a few CSUs that have an office like the Office of Graduate Studies that's dedicated specifically to supporting our graduate students, our graduate faculty, and our graduate programs. So for many of you, your first contact with the master's programs and with Chico State may be somebody from our office, either through a recruitment or outreach effort, or because you've called our office or you've emailed. And it's often the staff of graduate studies that you're first meeting with. And you'll also see the staff of graduate studies, perhaps your last day of Chico State, as you're graduating and going through the commencement ceremony, because our office also is primarily responsible for organizing your commencement ceremonies at the end. And then the Office of Grad Studies also does everything in between that recruitment and that final commencement stage, which I'm pretty sure almost all of you are going to reach that stage, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I'm confident about that. So our office provides advising, evaluation for your graduation. We provide support for your writing and research and your thesis project or other culminating activity that you do towards the end of your career here. And we also are kind of a one-stop shop for any question that you might have. If you're looking for resources, if you're looking for contact, if you're looking for support, you can pick up the phone and call the Office of Grad Studies, and everybody in our office is dedicated to helping you and to finding the resources that you need to answer your questions or provide that support that you need. So at any time in your graduate career and even beyond, even after you leave Chico State, if you have questions and you need some assistance, just give us a call if you don't know where else to go. You're also fortunate that in addition to the graduate staff, we have very strong graduate faculty. Each of our programs has at least one graduate coordinator who is dedicated to supporting you throughout your career. And then we have, I think, some of the most amazing faculty at Chico are the faculty who are involved in teaching graduate education. I'm looking at a couple of them standing against the wall here who are simply amazing. Hello, Matt. Hello, Chris. Thanks for being here. Hi, Darren back there too in the green. So thank you for being here, by the way. We really appreciate it. And so, we just want you to know that, if you've heard from your friends or your contacts that Chico State is a place where your faculty are there for you, where their doors are open, where you have one-on-one experiences working with your faculty, it is absolutely true. And it's also true for our Office of Graduate Studies. So what are we going to do here today? Well, you might be relieved to know that we're not doing the type of orientation that we used to do in the past, which was a very intensive 3-hour orientation. We did offer snacks. And in fact, there are snacks over there against that wall, so you could get up and have a refreshment at any point. So we would have 3 hours of really great information about all the resources available to you. So the librarians would be here, the Career Center would be here, the whole gamut of individuals who support you. But we heard from our graduate students that what they really wanted these first days, yes, they want those resources, they want to know about them, but they asked us to maybe spread it out over the years, to reach out over the year or over the semester, even the first semester. So to reach out to you with additional workshops, seminars, videos on all of that great information, which we absolutely will do. You can go to our website, which we'll show you in a bit, and find videos and links to the events that we have coming up, which we'll also be updating soon. So we stretched our orientation out over really the entire year, and especially over this semester. So what are we doing today? Well, what we're going to do today is, in addition to me giving you this bit of information, we'll just talk a little bit about why we think you should be excited about being a master's student and why you should feel reassured that you're making a good decision and also confident that you're going to succeed in this new endeavor that you're approaching in entering into a master's program. Because that is actually what our past graduate students told us. They really wanted to hear and feel, this first, maybe official day of your graduate student career. The other thing that they said they wanted to hear, and it is wonderful for us, I have to say, is they wanted to hear from other graduate students, right? They wanted to hear about, how did you feel when you were entering into your graduate program? What were the things you were afraid of? How did you overcome the challenges that you actually did face, right? What is the best advice you have to how to succeed these first weeks, the first semester, the first year, and all the way to the end of your program? So after we talk a little bit more, and I give you a little bit more information, and we will have you quickly look at our website, and I'll tell you why we're making sure you're going to see the website in a minute. We will devote most of the time then to a panel of our current graduate students and some recent alumni. And some of them will be on a Zoom session, so we'll pull that up and you'll be able to see everybody on Zoom. And then we have some people here in our office. And so we'll have a little conversation and discussion, and that's going to be most of what we're doing here. And so we should be wrapping up probably in about an hour or so. And then for those of you in the room, of course, we can mingle. You can ask us questions directly as you have refreshments, meet each other. And we'll spend some time after that. And for those of you on Zoom, we have some moderators there too that can answer your questions and give you a little bit more information. Okay, I'm going to turn to this next slide. The Adrian in my office made me really thought it was pretty when I saw it up here. And the reason I'm bringing up imposter syndrome is because there's one thing that I know from my own experience. So I should let you know that I was an undergraduate here at Chico State in the 80s. And then I transitioned into a master's program, and I finished here in 1993 in the political science department. I definitely had imposter syndrome when I went, even though I was at Chico State, going from my undergrad with a lot of the same faculty right into my graduate program. I was not sure that I could really meet the challenge. And I was afraid. I knew graduate school was going to be different. I knew it was going to be harder, and it is in some ways. And I wasn't sure I was up for the challenge. So I had imposter syndrome then. And then when I left Chico State to go to the East Coast, I also had imposter syndrome when I went there. And we'll talk about what imposter syndrome is in a minute. And so I went from Northern California. For those of you who are new to Chico, you might be shocked by maybe how small and kind of rural we are, all around us if you come from an urban area. But we also know that we have people who are coming from areas even more remote than Chico, and Chico can seem intimidating as a city. So this feeling that maybe, you're out of your element, that's part of imposter syndrome. This feeling that maybe, you don't belong, or you're not ready for the experience, you don't have the skills. Or maybe another way to kind of think about it is you start to get this anxiety that they will find out that you really don't belong here. They, maybe your peers or your faculty or administration or something like that, right? So imposter syndrome is just that feeling that you don't belong, or that anxiety that you have that you can't succeed in this kind of new environment where you feel maybe like an odd person out. And you might feel an odd person out for all kinds of reasons, right? So I just met somebody that, has just arrived in Chico State from India, from a very, very, very large urban area in India. And here he is, in probably just a matter of, not too many hours, really, right, a day, ending up in Chico. We know, so then we have people coming from all over the world here. We have people coming from other states. We have people coming from Southern California, much more urban, to here, and even people, like I said, coming from more remote areas of Northern California and some of the Western states. So just geographically, you might feel a little out of place, right? For some of you, you're thinking, I'm only 22, 23 years old. I just finished my bachelor's, maybe you're 21, just finished my bachelor's degree. I don't know. Maybe I should have taken a little more time. Maybe I should have taken a couple more years. I'm starting to meet some of my peers and they seem a little older than I am. Maybe I don't belong because I'm too young. Then we have the other side where you're thinking, I have been out of school for so long, right, that I don't know how to do this anymore. And so, and how am I going to keep up with these, young pipsqueaks, right, whose brains are so fresh and all their, synapses are firing and whatever, right? And so you feel intimidated or out of place for that reason. Maybe for some of you, you've actually switched fields. So you did your undergrad in one area, and now you've switched fields and you're wondering, am I really prepared for this? Do I know enough, or will I be able to, find my way forward? So in essence, that's what the imposter syndrome actually is. What I do want to reassure you about is, and why, for some of us, not everybody has imposter syndrome, I should say. And also it comes and goes. It might hit you at the weirdest time. Just when you think you're feeling your most confident, all of a sudden you start to doubt yourself. But the reason that you should really, try to put into perspective the imposter syndrome is that we actually have good historical evidence to reassure you that you have probably every reason to believe that you're going to succeed here. So that adage about, the historical past informs our present, right? We learn the truth from looking at the past to some extent. So what we actually know is the vast majority of our graduate students that start here at Chico State finish their degrees. In some of our programs, it is 100% of the students, year after year after year in those programs, that finish their graduate degrees and finish them in a really timely manner. Then we also know for those programs where maybe the completion rate isn't as high, maybe it's 85% of the students that start or 90% of the students that start, because that's where most of our programs actually fall. Somewhere between 85 and 95% of our graduate students that start finish. And what we know about those who do not is that it's their choice. So they are not failing out of graduate school. Nobody's asking them to leave. They leave because they have health issues or family issues, or they move out of the area, or they need to go back to work before they can come back to school again and make a little more money, right? So all kinds of reasons why they might leave, but it's their choice. So what that tells us is that, one, we have selected our students, our applicants very well, right? We've selected people who are oriented to succeed. And also then we are pretty good at Chico State at providing the support that students need to guide them through their programs. And so when I started off saying you can come to the graduate school with any questions, and then you have this wonderful support in your programs, it's because we are all dedicated to you succeeding. And those aren't just, everybody says that in education, but the fact of the matter is it's actually true. And it is really true here at Chico State. In some ways we have an advantage. You might go to some schools and they have 8,000 graduate students and people might not know your name. You might, never get into a faculty member's office until, the end of your career, if you're lucky. You struggle to find somebody to be on your committee and that kind of thing. So it's a little different for you here. The other reason that you should be reassured that we really, really want you here And I'll go to this slide here so you can read some of this. And not that this is your biggest concern, but it tells you one of the reasons we commit. It's very rational, right? From Chico State's perspective. We know that our graduate students are amazing in their support for undergrad education. You serve as teaching assistants, grad assistants, instructional assistants, you work in labs, you provide support in tutoring, mentoring across most of our student support. Without our graduate students, we always say this in our office, right? If we snapped our fingers and our graduate students disappeared from Chico State, our undergrad education would suffer greatly. So we know how valuable you are to Chico State. You also support your faculty in those ways that I just talked about, but also in other ways. They want to work with you. Many of them report they would not have come to Chico State if they couldn't work with graduate students. You provide us an opportunity to teach at a higher level, often in our area of expertise, and to engage in our research and grant writing and projects like that, make our professional lives much richer. And so most of our faculty, even when they sometimes get worn out and they're tired, those that teach at the graduate level, everybody teaches the undergrad too, but it's their graduate interactions that help maintain their kind of zest for their jobs over the years. You're also serving our state and our region. One of the things I'll talk about is the demand for the graduate degree is growing. We need people with master's degrees to take professional positions, and we need these people in our region very, very much. And so the contribution our grad students make coming from the region or returning to take jobs in the region is huge. We're talking about multi-million dollars of contribution in labor from our graduate students as interns, as in their practicums, but also in your professional careers. Our graduate students staff the university as their graduate students. Many of our staff are also, as staff, many of them are also in graduate programs. But if you looked around Chico State, you would see that probably well over 50% of the staff on campus, many of the faculty, some of the administrators like me, were graduates of our master's program at Chico State, and they're doing the really hard lifting of supporting the entire university. You contribute to some of our most important high impact practices that elevate the quality of our education at Chico State. And you also then are, enhancing some of the opportunities that our alumni have in reaching back to our students, and also in ways in which we can offer experiential or exciting kind of opportunities for our undergraduates and graduates that we wouldn't be able to staff or support without you. So that's one of the reasons, or many of the reasons, we want you. Now, why should you feel excited about being here, and why should you be confident that you're making a good choice about pursuing your master's degree? So you see over on the side, Adrienne prepared this slide, and I like that she put over on the side, master's degrees are valuable, with an exclamation point, because that might be an understatement even to some extent. So some of the things that you should know is that your master's degree will provide you greater employment opportunities. For some of you, you're coming back because you're already in your chosen profession and you need that master's degree to advance. Some of you are coming back because you're in a profession, but you want to switch professions. You want to do something different. And some of you are in master's programs because you know that in order to enter into the career that you want to pursue, you need that master's degree. And some of you are also pursuing your master's degree for the life of the mind idea, right? Because you like to be intellectually stimulated, you like a challenge. And for many of you, there's a mix of all of that. We know from Department of Labor statistics, from our California labor statistics, our California state legislature, and a multitude of research sources, that although it would be an exaggeration to say that the master's degree is the new bachelor's, the desire for master's degree holding individuals entering into most of our industries has grown significantly over the last 15 years, and it's growing even more every year. And that means that the demand for individuals with master's degrees is great across even industries where the master's degree used to not be required for advancement or for entry-level positions. But the master's degree is growing in importance in those employment opportunities. Also, we definitely have seen that among the, as this says, of the fastest growing professional and leadership opportunities, the master's degree is required. And so in areas like computer science and in engineering, where the master's degree used to not be so significant, the demand for even in those areas is much greater. In addition to the employment opportunities, the other thing I should bring up is that having a master's degree for most of you is going to equate to increased lifelong increased earnings. So the statistics vary and it depends on what discipline you go in, but over your lifetime, it could be anywhere from $500,000 to $3 million differential in what you actually make if you have your master's degree compared to your undergrad degree. So for most of you, there really is going to be a financial benefit to that master's degree. And then, you know, you should feel excited about, and when you finish your degree, very proud of the fact that you have done something that is extraordinarily difficult. Something that, as you can see, very few people actually achieve. Only 9% of the population in the United States hold a master's degree. And if we looked across the world, that percentage would be very small, right? So 9% is quite an accomplishment to be part of that 9%. It does tell you that getting a master's degree is a challenge, right? Not everybody wants to do it. But once you do, it's something that you can really feel proud of. It's a huge accomplishment. And then as you see, our last item there is that the master's degree brings you a greater sense of your own expertise, maybe status, recognition, respect, credibility, and greater knowledge. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I don't know about this, right? You know, not only am I not sure if I can do this, but maybe this isn't the right thing for me to do. We at least feel pretty confident that for most of you, this is going to be a beneficial thing to do. We don't hear from very many people that look back and say, you know, I wish I hadn't done my master's degree. So that's reassuring. Now, maybe they don't want to confess that. I don't know, but I don't think so. Okay, so what we were going to do here is we'll go ahead and take down that slide if you want to pull up the, I just want to skip to the actual graduate studies website. Now, we're not going to go through this whole website like we used to do, but we wanted to show you the grad studies website. One, so that you have, you know right where to go for almost all of the information that you need. Now, there's a ton of information on our website, and sometimes it's hard to find things, and we are revitalizing our website again. We're trying almost every year to make it better. But pretty much everything you need to know about the life of the graduate student is on this website. And we want you to know that it exists, because I have to say that one of the most demoralizing experiences that I have is when I am talking to a student who has just completed the final draft of their thesis and admits that they never once looked at the website, at the grad guide, at the thesis formatting guide, and didn't even know that they had to follow certain, you know, structures for their thesis and so forth. And so that feels like a failure of ours, right? And so that's why I'm just putting this website up. I'm showing you, let's see, can I actually move this? Kind of at a weird angle. I'm just going to show you this first page. So over on the side, you see a list of kind of the most significant general areas. But as you scroll down the website, you can see these cards. And these first three really are kind of, we try to segregate the information to some extent based on where you might be in your career. And you're already past that point, so you don't have to worry about that. This is information if you need a little help with advising. You can find your grad program coordinator on here. We try to keep this very up to date. So if you're not sure, where your grad coordinator's office is, or what their office phone number is or their email, you can look on this site and see where your grad coordinator actually is. And so just in case you don't know, your graduate coordinator is the faculty who has been put in charge of overseeing. They're really your primary advisor, right? And they'll be there for you from the beginning to the end of your career. And so that's the person you really go to for anything that you need about your individual program. Eventually, you'll have other faculty mentors that you know very well. Maybe they taught you in your classes. Maybe you've asked them to be on your committee for your culminating activity, your thesis or your project or your comp exam. Or maybe you're doing research or teaching for a faculty member and they become your mentor and you can go to them for sources too. But your graduate coordinator is your best bet in the beginning. And then we also have on here for our international students, their special advising crew, which I think most of you have already met over in the international education office. And then as we go down here, you can see there is a lot more information. And because I actually am temporarily our thesis editor while we're hiring somebody, I'm pointing out the thesis or project section right away. I don't want you to be stressed about your thesis or project at this point. Graduate students often think, I don't know how to write a thesis. You'll know how to write a thesis. There's plenty of support. And one of the first things I would say is we have an archive of our theses and our projects. It's called ScholarWorks on the library site. And you can go on there and you can look at them and it'll probably reassure you. They're really great works, but it's not that intimidating. So, and we will support you as well as your committee to do this. But I want you to see this site so that you at least browse it and realize that there are some protocols when you're creating your thesis and project. And it'll give you, I think, reassurance in seeing that you'll have support. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with that. If you need to find us and you're not sure how, you can see it's the Chico State address /graduate studies. But of course, you can just, search graduate studies. Okay, so any questions before we turn over to our student panel, the part that I'm looking forward to? Although this is so great to see all of you here and to see your faces. We haven't had an in-person orientation for a couple of years. And so we're glad so many of you showed up, and it really, Rose White, who is our student success coordinator in Office of Graduate Studies. She is our primary driver of making sure we're having in-person interaction. She's super gregarious, so she insisted we're having an in-person orientation this year, no matter what you say, Dean. So thanks for being here. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Rosemary. She's going to moderate this section. I'm really looking forward to it. My stuff.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got some panelists who are going to be here answering a few questions, and I'm going to ask our couple of in-person panelists to go ahead and sit up front here. And then we do have two panelists who are on Zoom, so we're going to have some answers and they're going to answer for all of you for some of these questions. And then we have Jasmine Corona, who is going to be asking questions of our panelists. And Jasmine is a recent graduate in the English master's program. She just finished last semester. And so she's probably got some advice too. So I'm going to turn this over to Jasmine, and I'm also going to try and keep us on track because we only have a certain amount of time, and we usually take about an hour to do this part, and we don't have anywhere near that. So we might not get answers from each of our panelists on each of our questions. But what I want you to know up front is that either in person or on Zoom, we do have some current and recently graduated graduate students who are going to stick around and be here to answer questions that, these same questions, and maybe give you some advice. So what I'm going to do is really quickly have our in-person folks introduce themselves, and then I'm going to have our panelists who are on Zoom introduce themselves. So go ahead.
Hi, my name is Yashvi Sudapura. I'm a computer science graduate student, and I'm going to be starting my second year here at Chico.
And you are?
And I'm also the president for COGS, which is the Council of Graduate Students. And I encourage everyone to join. It's a club where we basically interact with graduate students from different disciplines, and we have some really fun events planned for the year.
And hi, I'm Janet Mchugh, and I am a what am I? I'm MBA. Sorry, the acronyms. Okay, you'll learn about the acronyms in this college because it's crazy. Anyway, MBA student, and it's my third semester here, and I am the event planner in COG. So yes, we do have some amazing events coming up. So please come join us.
Thanks for introducing yourself. And on Zoom, we have Ken Barbier-Gill and Joanna Herrera. Would you two please introduce yourselves?
I can go first. Hi, everyone. Welcome, graduate students. My name is Joanna Herrera. I am the Adelante Student Success Coordinator, and I'm also a graduate student finishing up in the Masters of Interdisciplinary Studies with a focus in Latin American Historical and Cultural Studies. And so you'll get to find out a little bit more about the Adelante program and how you can get involved and how that supports graduate students. Some of you probably in the audience already are involved with Adelante, and many of our staff are also involved with Adelante program. So welcome.
And do we also have Ken Barbier on? And he may not have been able to zoom in. And so if that's the case, what I do want to also say is that we have a couple of folks here who are Riley, who is a history grad student who may chime in, and Jessica, who is a kinesiology grad student who may chime in too. But I'm going to turn this over to Jasmine to get started on the questions.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and jump right in. So during your first days as a graduate student, what were your biggest fears and how did you overcome them?
On that.
Yeah, please take your time.
Go ahead, Yashvi.
I think the biggest fear was that was mentioned in the slide, imposter syndrome. You kind of feel like, how am I going to do this? Especially me, because I'm coming from a different background. So I did my undergrad in biology, and I'm completely switching fields. So to step into computer science, I was a little bit nervous. But I remember during our graduate orientation, the same slide was put up. It was on Zoom, but it definitely made it reminded me that I shouldn't be nervous and I should really be confident, because we're all here for a reason, and you guys all got to this stage because you're capable of coming here. So definitely be confident, and you'll do great in your program.
Joanna, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, sorry, I was answering a question from another graduate student on the chat. Can you repeat the question for me?
It is, during your first days as a grad student, what were your biggest fears and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think I had a lot of fears in those first few days. I was feeling probably quite lost. And I think one of my biggest fears was, how am I going to balance working and doing my graduate program? And it actually speaks to the question someone just asked me on the chat, if I was working full-time while doing my graduate program, and I was. And so I had just received a full-time job and I started my grad program. And I think it takes a lot of time management, a lot of pulling from resources. I did have to be flexible and adaptable and make changes, and sort of things took a little bit longer here and there, but it is possible. And the Office of Graduate Studies and the support that I've received from the faculty on campus made that possible. The faculty on my committee really were understanding, compassionate, empathetic. And so I felt that I really did belong here and that I could do it, even though I had other challenges and other outside responsibilities.
I love that. And actually that is the perfect segue into our second question. And I
Yeah.
would like Jasmine to go ahead and go there.
Thank you. So our second question is, what is your best advice to the students to hear about and how to succeed in their grad program? What were some strategies that you used to meet those challenges and succeed?
Janet?
Well, yeah, I think one of the strategies that I used was using my peers for my program. So like Yashvi, the business degree is not my undergrad, I'm a sociology grad. And so I jumped into business, and I did have the same like imposter syndrome when I got there. But my first semester, I mean, this is going to be my first semester face-to-face. So I don't know about you guys, but I am scared about that since I've been online for the past 3 years. So I think pairing up with my peers who had undergrads in business they were my go-to people. Like being in groups was also frightening for me. I wasn't really used to working in groups, but getting over that fear and knowing that the people in the students and peers in my class are just there and they're just as scared and they have the same questions as I do, and to partner up with them and to work as a team has really helped me in my program. So definitely pair up with those, your peers in your classes and kind of, latch on and learn from them and learn from each other.
Yashvi, you have anything you want to add? Okay.
To kind of piggyback what Janet is saying, the connections that you make in grad school are very invaluable, and they're going to follow you because you want to jump into those resources that you can make. And sometimes there will be clubs, like for example, I see 3 people from EGSC, hey, and they are lifelong friends for me now because we would all meet up during the week and for EGSC, and we would talk about classes or homework and stuff. And that's how you get through as a group.
And when you say EGSC, explain what that is.
English Graduate Student Council. So I'm not sure if every graduate program has a club or a council, but ours did, and maybe your advisors can tell you if they do. But if you are able to join when you can, I'd say it's an invaluable experience because you do make connections.
And if your department doesn't, then definitely go to Yashvi and Cogs, Janet. They are ready to embrace you.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's a good segue to what resources were most valuable to you, and were there resources that kept you going back to, that you kept going back to?
To be honest, my last semester, I relied on the library and the library staff so much, and their chat function is amazing. There were journals that I wasn't able to find, and I would just send them like a link, the IBS, whatever number, another acronym. And they were able to look it up and send me that document so fast. So the library is going to be your greatest resource for finding information. That's my take.
Just adding on, I think faculty, office hours, definitely a huge resource. All the faculty are very welcoming and they're definitely there to help you. So you can definitely reach out to them anytime as well.
Joanna, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I have to second that faculty piece. I think one of the really interesting things about becoming a graduate student is that faculty now see you as a colleague, which was a different thing to experience that as an undergraduate student versus graduate student. And it was really nice to kind of have that elevated like respect and relationship. So it was really nice to develop those resources that the faculty could sort of point you to. But I think also the Office of Graduate Studies, one of the things as a first semester grad student that I didn't take advantage of, and I wish I had back then, is the resources to apply for scholarships, fellowships, and different funding that I could use to help support my journey so I didn't have to work as much. And so I definitely, in hindsight, think that utilizing the Office of Grad Studies to go walk in there and ask questions, and if you don't know something, they'll help you, find whatever you're looking for. So I think going in there, and also the Career Center. The Career Center was such a great resource for me in helping me with my CV and helping me apply to different positions and things that I could do that I didn't think that I had access to. And I thought my resume and CV was pretty great, but then once they were able to take a look at it, they totally took it to the next level. So I think the biggest thing is to reach out and ask for help, or just stop by the office, because you never know what you're going to encounter and the resource you're going to find out. So
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because you do bring up a point that it's never too late to ask for help. But that's a good segue into the next question is, were there things that you didn't do in your time as a grad student that you later realized you should have? You kind of touched on it a little bit in the last answer.
yeah, I think that one of the biggest things that I wish I had worked on was my study skills habits. Really, I think that in my undergraduate classes, I'm going to be completely transparent here. I think I could coast in some classes and do like some of the reading and do some, and still get a really good grade. And the difference was the level of reading and the level of work. Number one. Number two was the self-discipline that was needed in graduate school, right? So you're not going to have many of your professors behind you asking you to turn in your assignments or do your reading and get to those pieces. And so you really have to develop good time management, good study skills habits. And we'll have workshops this fall and things like that we're developing to help with that. So I think that you'll definitely hear from the Adelante program and the Office of Grad Studies on those pieces as well.
Thanks, Joanna. And I just see Ken. I'm so glad you were able to join us. So welcome. And we have just been beginning asking our questions, but I would love you to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're at and what you're up to and where you were.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, sorry for the delay. I was in a meeting that ran longer than expected. Hi, everyone. My name's Canterbury Gill. I actually recently graduated from Chico State with a master's in psych science. Prior to Chico State, I did my undergraduate degree at UC Davis. I'm currently in Oklahoma. I'm a PhD student in the Ed Psych program out here, getting my PhD. And yeah, great to be here. And thank you all for having me.
Well, we're glad that you were able to join us. And we were just talking about, if there were things that you didn't do in your master's program that you wish you had, that you realized that you should have. And if there's anything that you want to add to that, you're welcome to chime in. And, maybe you're one of those people who just did everything they ever could have wished they did.
Yeah, sure. I think something that I wished I had done was try to learn certain skills that I know would be applicable for some of the stuff I'm doing here in my program. Like some of those things would be like, I took statistics classes in my graduate program and during undergrad. And usually when I took those courses, I cared more so about getting through them and getting a good grade as opposed to actually building a skill set that I was really confident in. And I think because I didn't retain as many things from those courses as I wish I had, it'll be a bit of a steeper learning curve revisiting those concepts now in my PhD program. So yeah, I would definitely say in terms of certain coursework, I know there's certain coursework that at times we feel as though it's something that we might just have to take a class in this thing once and we won't really revisit the concepts from, say, a certain course. That isn't necessarily the case with all of the courses you'll take. And I think some of the courses you'll take can be applicable in jobs you'll apply to in the futures and things like that. Yeah, so like the things that I'm talking about have to do with statistics, and there's several jobs that you can get from just having the skills, having skills that I learned from those courses. So that's probably the first thing that comes to mind.
Thanks, Ken. And another question?
Well, if I can, I'd like to answer. Too.
Well, please do.
But something I wish I would have done earlier was to start my thesis work earlier, not to stress any of you out, but I had to take an extra semester for adjunct just to get through the thesis writing. And that was something I had faced a lot of imposter syndrome. And that's what made the thesis for me, it made it really scary, even though I could talk about the topic whenever I needed to, but just sitting down and writing it and getting it from my head to like the page was very daunting for me. And I put it off and put it off and put it off. And then eventually I just had to get to writing it. And I wish I would have talked to somebody, either my grad advisor or my faculty, my chair. That would have been more helpful for me had I gone to them earlier. But that is the advice that I'm giving you now. It's like start early. And also when you feel like you need help, don't be ashamed, don't be scared, just ask for it. People will support you.
Can you tell me just quickly what adjunct enrollment?
Abject enrollment, the way I understand it is that you are paying for a spot. So that saves your spot in the program, but you're not taking any physical classes. So you're not taking any units, but it's just time. So it saves your spot. It's kind of like a queue, like when you call into like telecommuters, right? And you call into companies, they save your spot. So it's kind of like that. So you say you're still on track in your program and you're still enrolled, but you're not actively taking classes. And you also don't pay full amount of tuition, you only pay a little bit. And that gives you that extra semester to like either finish incompletes or work on your thesis.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and move on to the next question.
Yeah.
What were things that you did or would advise new students to do to work successfully with your grad program coordinator or faculty or program faculty?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. What were things that you did or would advise new students to do to work with your graduate program coordinator or program faculty? Like,
I guess just reach out. Don't be nervous to reach out because they're all willing to help. And I think if you take that first initiative to ask, they'll be there to support you.
I agree. I don't really have much to add. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Joanna or Ken, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
I think I dropped off the call.
I can add something quickly, and then I'll pass it over to Ken because I think he had a great experience working with his grad coordinator too. And I think that it's important to find a good fit, I think. And I know it's like, especially for your graduate, committee chair and your graduate coordinator, like to be able to have that support and that backup. So for example, let's say the graduate coordinator, you're having like not as much communication with that person. You want to be able to reach out to your committee chair, and perhaps you usually have more than one on your committee. And so be able to pull from various resources and sort of tap into the folks that are going to be there and help you, keep you accountable. That was one of the things that I really needed. And I'm navigating that right now, actually. And so being able to reach out and say, I need more accountability. I need someone to set a schedule for me, and so I can follow these deadlines. And so asking for the help when that's needed. And if that's something that, the grad coordinator is not, you're not doing with them, you can, gravitate towards pulling all those resources from your committee chair, your committee.
Thanks, Joanna. How about you, Ken?
Yeah, I would agree with what Joanna said, and I would also agree with what Anthony had said in the chat in terms of your experience depending on your program. Depending on your program, different people will be more or less involved in terms of the program coordinator being involved in helping you in terms of selecting your coursework and things like that. So in terms of program coordinator, I would consider them to be like your counselor for registering for classes and things of that nature, or helping you work through the series of courses you'll have to take to finish your degree. In terms of what Joanna was talking a little bit about in terms of fit and choosing advisors and things of that nature, I would definitely agree in terms of choosing somebody that you think is a good fit for not only the stuff you want to do in terms of research or your culminating activity, but also a good fit in terms of who they are as a person and who you are as a person, as well as if their working style works well for you. I know personally speaking, I had a great experience in terms of the mentors that I aligned myself with, because I felt as though I selected mentors that worked on similar things that I was interested in. And I also selected mentors that had similar goals as I did. What I mean by that is I felt like as a graduate student, I was really hungry and wanted to take on several opportunities that I felt as though the faculty mentors I selected had similar goals. They were assistant and associate professors that also were just as hungry, as opposed to maybe some senior faculty, maybe less inclined to take on as many things as, say, some of the more junior faculty. And I think in the case of my situation, I selected my mentors based on, I would say research, who they were as people, as well as what they wanted to do within the program itself. And I think it's a big deal as well, because you're committing to like a 2-year relationship with this person if your, say, program is 2 or 3 years. So you spend a lot of time together. It's important to pick the right one. And those are some tips I would give in terms of selecting the right mentor.
Thanks, Cam. And Riley, anything you want to add on this score or any of the other questions? Anything you want to pop in?
I haven't got my panel yet, so I can't answer to that. I mean, I can talk about, I'm just thinking about some of the questions. From my experience, that imposter syndrome can be pretty rough when you're first getting started. You may doubt your abilities, but it's important to believe in yourself and just put your best foot forward and work hard and communicate a lot with the faculty. The faculty's here to help you and assist you. They've been through all of this, what you're going through right now, so they can have the best advice. And I would just say reach out early and often with your faculty. It's going to be your best resource here on campus, and create a cohort. That's been very helpful for me. I mean, there's going to be other people in your program that are starting at a similar time. And it can be really nice to have a group that's going through the same things as you, keep you accountable. You're going to be taking a lot of the same courses. That's about what I would say. If you can, find employment on campus. I love working here on campus. You have very supportive staff and you can make a difference on campus. And I would just say work hard, put your best foot forward, and try to network as much as possible.
Great. And Jessica?
Hi, everyone. I would say I'm kinesiology. Is there any kinesiology graduate students? No. Okay, I'm only
One in the back. There's somebody.
Oh, yes. Giving you a high five. I can't see you. I would definitely just say what everybody else has said really well. Really connect with your peers at this time, because you'll never get these moments back. Take time for yourself to be selfish and just dig into your passions and use your resources as your faculty and your peers. I don't know how many times I've met up with Yoshvi just to like knock out 3 hours of homework and to, just scarf down carbs and then keep going. But definitely just believe in yourself. And that sounds really corny, but it's true. And be excited. It's this school is honestly really special for my kinesiology program. I love my faculty that I get to work with, so you're definitely in good hands.
Thank you so much. All right, so what we want to do.
I
What
would like to tell you
we
about
can
this.
do.
I'm a second year graduate student for English, but something I've worked with a lot of the graduate students in the different departments. And one thing that we've all kind of come to terms with that I wish I had done earlier is really getting on top of like your public presentation, like your public speaking, the way that you like appear in public, because as a graduate student, you become more of the face of the university. And like, we're all going to be doing really important work, but you have to have the ability to present that work, like talk out loud, go to symposiums and meetings. So like getting on top of the way you present yourself publicly, because your work has to get out there somehow and it has to pretty much come through your mouth. So like, that's something I wish I had done. when I first started doing readings and stuff, I would like shake in front of the microphone. So I wish I prepared myself more. I don't want to see you guys up there like shaking and like doing, I do, like, you know, so that's a tip that I would give.
Thank you.
That's some good advice, Coach.
You figured out how to do
I
it.
did,
You
yeah.
did very well. Very good.
Are you guys done with your questions? or-
Um, What I was just wanted to add is that we are going to have these folks stick around. So,
Wait a minute, Rose.
yeah,
What I wanted to say is we actually have 3 graduate coordinators here. And I just asked them if they would mind coming up and kind of joining in, because I think maybe some of you might have questions, but also maybe just to give you a few, you know, in addition to what you heard from the students about, you know, what can your grad coordinators do for you, you can maybe hear directly from them. And so they all agreed. We have in the back end of the red shirt is Christopher Ivy, Dr. Christopher Ivy. He is in the Biological Sciences Department and has been a long time supporter of graduate students. Yeah, I didn't mean, okay, he's been an active supporter, how's that? And so, you know, come on up here because I think, you know, if you want to say a few words and then maybe I'm thinking you all might have some questions or things that you, the students might want to interject. And then we also have Dr. Darren Hurley, who is the graduate coordinator. She's in the green, and she's the graduate coordinator of the social science program. And she is also in political science and criminal justice department. And are you the associate chair starting this year? Nothing you know of? Oh, it's just my hope, right? And if you want to come up too, it's up to you. But and then Dr. Jennifer Mikowski, she's the graduate coordinator of communications studies. And so thank you for being here. It's really an act of dedication that they come every year and they just, you know, really to see your faces and maybe meet a few of you. And so.
and online, we do
Oh.
have some grad coordinators
Oh,
on
here.
Zoom.
I can't see very well. So
Okay,
you-
I'm just mentioning that we do have grad coordinators on Zoom, and I can't see the whole screen, but I do see Dr. Erin Kelly of the English program, and I believe we may have some other grad coordinators, so please feel free to chime in if you have things to add. Thank you.
Okay, great. So you've heard some of the questions. Is there, you know, you want to start us off, Chris? Is there anything you want to say, or you just want to respond to questions?
Do you guys want to stand in front of the camera? I don't bite it.
Yeah.
Not really.
I know, we didn't know we were doing this, so,
I'll stay up here with you.
okay.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah, no.
You can see I dressed for the occasion.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, so just one thing I would mention that
Sorry, I don't.
some students were suggesting to reach out to faculty. You know, people were talking about how faculty like to support students, and all that is true. And it's, you know, if you think about things from our perspective, it's in our self-interest to support students because this advances our careers as well as yours. You know, when you guys do good research, then, you know, often we're co-authors or something, you know, we get recognition and we like to graduate our students. So it's in our interest for sure. Having said that, faculty also tend to be spread very thin. So we're not necessarily likely to come, you know, or I mean, it depends on the faculty, I suppose, but speaking for myself, I'm not necessarily very likely to come, you know, looking for you and seeing how things are going and asking you questions repeatedly. So if you're quiet, or if you don't bug me, you know, I might assume everything's going okay. So it's good to reach out and push me a little.
So don't be afraid to be proactive.
Yeah.
For sure. And
Translations.
it can feel a little scary, and the longer you put it off, then maybe the bigger it seems to loom. Like you gotta, I gotta have something important to take them. Well, don't worry about that. Just do it. Just reach out, right?
I'm gonna look here. Just about. Hi, yeah, I guess the question about, what do you remember from your master's and that you wish maybe you had done and or taken advantage of? And I started thinking that, I really hope and that you will gift to yourself indulgence in this next couple of years, because what you've done is conserved, reserved, elbowed out space and time to think thoughts. And that's freaking cool. And it's a fleeting opportunity. And against a backdrop, a cultural milieu that says, don't think, stop thinking, that's a waste of time, or feel guilty for staying still or just reading. That is your job now. So you can kind of quell all those inner voices and that cultural noise and say, actually, right, my profession at this moment demands me to think thoughts, and I'm going to do that alongside others. And I think that I wish I had leaned into that or just really embraced that a little bit more during the process, because I was I know the product, which is the degree, right, is really tempting to just keep your eyes fixed there. But you kind of miss that. That's sort of like your job is to hang out in a coffee shop and dress the nerdiness and like open books where people can't pronounce the titles. And they're like, I wonder what that person does. You know, like that's what you bring to Chico. And that's what makes this place really great. So, so I would say, yes, indulge. I wish I did that more.
I want to jump in and piggyback off of what.
Schedule that time.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't know.
put it on your calendar,
Yeah.
or you won't have it. That's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I don't know if anybody can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can, Erin.
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of Dr. Mikowski's comment and say, you also are really lucky in that you are a member of this intellectual community as our colleagues for the next 2 to 4 years. And so go to things on campus, like go to talks that your department is putting on, join COGS, join your department's version of EGSC, come to events put on by the Humanities Center, go to the Anthropology Forum, go to things, like show up, be a member of the community, because you are really lucky to be surrounded by a bunch of people who care about those ideas and that thinking that Dr. Mikowski was just talking about. So don't waste the opportunity.
Yeah. Just to echo some of that, I mean, I feel like so much of this, when they were talking about imposter syndrome, resonates with anybody who's gone through graduate school. You know, some of us are tenured faculty and we're still having imposter syndrome as though we're graduate, you know. So a big part of this and big part of embracing and indulging is just the community, right? Bringing yourself closer to your peers. If you have a question, if you have a doubt, someone else in your cohort probably does too. If you're in an interdisciplinary degree or a social science degree, and maybe you don't have as cohesive of a cohort, which we're working on in my program, but reach out to your coordinator. We'll connect you with someone who might have similar interests or connect you with their faculty. It's all about kind of fostering those community ties and taking advantage, like we're saying, of that time. Like this is your time to do that and not worry about much else. So really dig in and reach out to faculty, reach out to your peers and work on those connections, because that's going to work wonders for you down the road with the thesis or everything else that you're doing. So don't forget, don't, if you're feeling the least bit isolated, reach out and connect with others for sure. It's a big part. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
So if people have questions, please feel free to ask of these grad coordinators or these current and recently graduated grad students. We will go ahead and try to answer some questions right now. Zoom will do the same thing. Type your questions in the chat. We will continue to do this after we just take the first initial questions. And then we're going to kind of let you all kind of visit with each other, either on Zoom or in this room. Any questions? Okay, we got one here.
I just have a general question for like instructors and professors. How many of you here have PhDs? Like, do most professors have PhDs?
Okay, and the question was, how many of the professors have PhDs? Do most of them have PhDs?
I mean, yes, across graduate programs. I don't know the statistics.
Yeah, I would say that those that teach graduate seminars, I would say
Almost always do.
almost always do. Unless it's a terminal degree, maybe like an MFA or something like that, where you're in a field where the terminal degree looks different. But I would say that, yeah, those that like researching tend to gravitate towards teaching graduate studies. And so that would be my guess.
Yeah.
Are you interested in pursuing a PhD, or you were just, okay?
We will trick you into it. I got tricked into it by my master's advisor. What we're here for.
It's a good life, you know, I mean, an academic career is wonderful. What, you know, she was saying about, you know, that this is a treasured experience, that you get an opportunity to sit around and think. Well, you can do that for a career. It's a real gift. It's so, I feel so lucky to be able to just spend all my days thinking about things and talking about really interesting ideas with smart students and colleagues. And it's a real treasure.
My father was a professor for decades and a jazz music professor, and he said, I get to read and write and talk about the things I read and write. And it's the best. He's like, yeah, it sounds like a pretty good gig, Dad.
We should mention that in the Office of Graduate Studies, we are definitely there to help you explore the PhD possibilities, because it's hard to know. I'm not sure how they all, you know, decided to go on other than being egged on by their faculty mentors. But for me, to be honest, I guess I can tell this story. I was in the political science department and I was getting my master's, and we had a face board outside of the department. Is it still there? Mm-hmm. That's still there, but back in the day, they actually had the professor's name, their photograph, and where they got their PhD. So I was waiting for a faculty member to show up for office hours. I was standing there looking at, oh, this is arrogant of me to say, but I was looking at the face board, and there were a few faculty on there that maybe I didn't have the utmost respect for, to be honest. And you know, I'd had him as undergrad, had him as grad. And I actually thought to myself, if he got a PhD, maybe I could. And it's true. That was the first time I actually considered a PhD. So then, of course, I had to go explore, you know, what does it mean? How do I get there? You know, how much does it cost? You know, can I afford it? Oh, they pay me to get this degree. Woo. And so it was the Office of Graduate Studies at Chico State. So this is 1991. And I went to the Office of Graduate Studies and said, now you have to remember, this is pre-internet days. So, and so, you know, you had to, couldn't just like look online, you know, where should I go to school? How do I apply for a PhD, right? I had to go to the library and look up books, but I went to the Office of Graduate School Studies, and they are the ones who gave me the primary support, right? The knowledge, the education, and they are responsible for bringing me back to Chico State, because when I went off for my PhD, they continued to stay in contact with me. And they found out in the political science department that they'd had a failed search. So they had this, you know, sudden opening, and they called me up and said, you should apply. You're almost done, right? Come back to Chico State for a while. And so that is actually how I got back. And it's actually why I'm in the Office of Graduate Studies, because I came back here in 1999 and they said, great, you're back. You owe us you have a debt, just like now I have a debt to these three for making them come up. And so I'm telling you this story because as Dean of Graduate Education here at Chico State, that's my commitment to you, is to make sure, and everybody in our office, all of these people that you see here who are in our Adelante program, your faculty, our Council of Grad students, we just want to make sure that you're exploring every opportunity that you have before you. And that includes PhDs. So even if you don't know what the heck it means, right? We can start helping you explore, look for funding, looking for opportunities to explore. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, yes, in the back.
Pretty sure I already know to talk about the work about it, but just so that other people know, you can only have PhD professor on your committee, correct?
Okay, so the question is, can you have any other than a PhD professor on your grad committee? And so typically that is going to be the case. And there are in certain departments every once in a while exceptions, and those do need to be requested.
Yeah.
And yes. We just went through the process. We just went through the process.
So this is the big surprise after having survived the whole system. And I didn't have a dad that was a professor. I'm the only PhD my dad has told me that he's ever talked to. So that was my background, right? And so for better or worse, I would march in the place and be like, hey, is this an option? And they'd be like, what? But a lot of these rules, you can find advocates. And if you have good reasons and you do the work to try to make it the best and most easiest yes for others, you're gonna find support. And so we just had a great case in our, where we did, I think technically we had 2 PhDs on the committee, but the third member, who routinely has always also been a PhD, even if they're out of the department, was an MA lecturer for years who has lived professional expertise in the subject matter that this person is studying, right? Like that person blows a PhD in sociology. It had nothing to, not a I love sociologists, but you're right, like this unrelated field, but because they're ordained with the doctor before their name, they could be on this committee. And so it wasn't difficult to make the case because it was a smart case, and I found advocacy in graduate studies. And so I think that that's what you'll find is be bold in your asks, or like me, be dumb. I get like just waltz in. Because if you can imagine it, I think there's a lot, this is different from the undergraduate experiences. You're set on tracks. People have thought through those tracks, have designed those tracks so you can kind of lock in and follow it through. This is an opportunity where you get to curate your experience. And so really, what do you want to get out of it? If it is a PhD, you know, there's plenty of opportunities to think through that and decide if you really want a PhD or not. And sometimes you get to the end of that and go like, nah, and that's cool. That's a valuable lesson. But you can also curate the experience in different ways. And so if you have MAs or other folks on campus that they have expertise you'd like to learn from, and you'd like to organize your time and experience with them as a formal member and mentor, I think that there's opportunity to do so. And we can wiggle around the logistics. Sorry, I don't mean to be like rule breaker, but I do. I think there's opportunity.
Well, just to add to that, because I'm actually the person that approves exceptions for committees. And so, so I literally get to say yes to that. And I would say that on our campus, the way that it's not all up to you to just have to go find your committee. You have your graduate coordinators to help you and other faculty. And so, you know, you want to find people who actually have an interest in what you're working on and expertise. And so in some of our disciplines, that expertise rests with their faculty. It rests with their faculty with PhDs. And in a lot of our disciplines, though, we have wonderful lecturers here. Some of our students get committee members outside of Chico State. We've had a lot of faculty from UC Davis serving on our committees, but other universities too. And so you work with your coordinator, and then if there's any questions, the coordinator comes to us, and you know, we almost always approve it because there's a good reason for why you're asking for an exception. For those of you who you're thinking like, what committee? What do I even need a committee for? Don't worry about it too much right now. You'll get support in finding your committee. Okay, anything else? Anything from the panelists? Yeah.
You guys have any like upcoming events that are centered around graduate student interaction that you want to highlight?
Yes, indeed, we do. Okay, so we will have Council of Graduate Students events coming up. So those events will happen all throughout the semester. So we do encourage you to use the QR codes on that sandwich board in the back, and check out, put your name in there to let them know who is interested, and so they will reach out and contact you. But there's also, once you go to the first QR code, you'll see another QR code that lists some of the upcoming events. So we do have that. But in addition to that, we will also have the Office of Graduate Studies puts on workshops throughout the semester, and we will be sending out announcements and emails. So do check your Chico State email, because there is an all grad student announcement list that we send things out to Also check the student announcements that are on the Chico State website. And also check our webpage, because we do have an upcoming events page.
And social media.
And we do have social media, and I'm gonna let Trinity say something about that.
Yeah, we have our social media. There's a QR code on all the flyers you guys got. I am horrible at checking my email personally. Miss a lot of events because of it on campus. But if I see it just kind of swiping through my stories on Instagram, then I'm like, I probably should do that. But it's not just that. We post the dates and deadlines when thesis submissions are due, when things are due, upcoming events, our office hours, so you can drop in and get some help just in normal graduate studies office hours. So it is a great resource. Instead of having to check that email, just kind of having something to see and be like, okay, I have a thesis deadline due. I have this coming up, and they're reminding me in a different way than you might have thought, just because it is in your normal day-to-day life for most.
With the Instagram name.
It is Grad Studies Chico. The other great one to follow is Adelante, and that one is Adelante Chico State.
I believe so. Let me double check.
Yes, that's
I'm
it.
gonna let you know that on our Zoom, if the folks who are on Zoom, you weren't here to get this piece of paper, but it is on our website. So if you go down on our homepage, go down to the bottom and click the link for the new grad orientation pages. And we do have a link to this agenda for our orientation, and it's got lots of QR codes, and it has information on our social media. So please follow us on social media, and also just check in with us. Give us a call, ask us if there are things coming up, but do check your email and your student announcements.
I was just thinking about Trinity working hard to do student profiles. And so if they have information they want to share with us, we would like profile them.
So Sharon says that Trinity, who is our social media queen in our Office of Graduate Studies, and she's an undergrad who we are going to have into that MBA one of these days. But she is doing some student profiles. And so please reach out to us if you would like us to profile you, because we would love to get some information out about the diversity of students that we have on campus and the cool things that people are working on. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Graduate Studies, all one word, at csuchico.edu if you want to email us, or you can call us at 898-6880. And Trinity will probably answer the phone.
You're right.
Anything else? Okay.
Rose,
so-
can I say something,
Please,
Rose,
yeah.
before we
Yeah.
leave?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Thanks, Rose. I just want to speak to all of my BIPOC graduate students out there, or my Latina graduate students out there, that I know we spoke a lot today about getting involved, carving out time to be on campus, attending events and, reaching out for help. And I know that that can be difficult when you come from a different cultural background, and you come with different challenges to the table, outside responsibilities, family responsibilities, work outside of graduate school. And so the Adelante program is here for you. We see you, and we know that these challenges are particular to us, to first-gen folks, and perhaps you're navigating graduate school not just as a new graduate student, but also the first person to ever walk these steps in your family. So we're here for you. Please reach out to us at the Adelante program. We have ways to connect that are both online and in person, something that will meet your schedule and your needs. And so please come by and see us. We're in Holt 281A, or send me an email. And I'll go ahead. It's on the Grad Studies website too, to connect to Adelante. So please come see us.
Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you being here. We will be hanging out for a little while, and we are always pushing the refreshments. So there's still food and drink over there and some goodies. So help yourself. And again, don't be strangers. Call us or contact us. And good luck in your first week next week.